And now we're bringing in the aforementioned Tom Kelly, who continues to expand his empire there in Troy. And now you are the U.S. Center for Advanced Manufacturing.
That is true.
And anyway, this is a great thing. This is, I mean, I'm amazed at, when you all started, when Brooks came up with the idea, it was just 10 counties of Southeast Michigan, and, it was okay. But you guys have really, really made some traction here. Now Automation Alley is statewide. And now you've added this Center for Manufacturing Excellence. Let's talk a little bit about the history of Automation Alley.
Well, Mike, you did a great intro, and you and Matt know the history. I mean, what's left to do? Brooks got sick and tired of people calling us the Rust Belt.
Yep.
And in 1999, he commissioned a study that said, I want to know how many tech workers are actually here versus the coast. And what he found was there were more tech workers here than there was in Silicon Valley. They were just classified as auto workers. And he said, we got to go about changing that story. And so he created Automation Alley as a way to begin to rebrand the region as a high-tech hub. Way before mobility and all the really sexy, cool things that are now starting to wash over the region, he was really prescient in that we were going to have our day again, so to speak. And we just needed to let the world know. And so Automation Alley has been on this relentless march to teach the world how cool Michigan is as a place to do business and a place to be a technologist. And this partnership with the World Economic Forum, bringing this U.S. Center for Advanced Manufacturing, which they call it the U.S. Center. It's the only center in the entire forum network focused on advanced manufacturing, to bring it here to the U.S. and to Detroit and to Automation Alley. I think Brooks would be very proud of us.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what the Center of Advanced Manufacturing will do. What will be its work product and kind of who are its customers?
Yeah, that's another great question, because Automation Alley has always existed to help the little guy. You guys know that startups, small manufacturers, everything Automation Alley does is to make sure that our supply chain is as good as it can be and world-class. Well, the flip side of that is, you know what? You have to get the attention of the bigs to be in a supply chain. By its very definition, it implies you're a little fish to a great big fish, right? And Automation Alley, quite frankly, wasn't very strong in that side of the business because the bigs are global. They have lots of places they can put their resources. And Automation Alley was always focused on the little guys. Well, hence comes the World Economic Forum and their need to stand up an advanced manufacturing center that focuses on the largest of the large. These are people that take their jets to go to Davos, right? These are very powerful movers and shakers. And the premise that I had was, what if we could take the global movers and shakers and marry them to our supply chain in Michigan? Wouldn't that be a powerful combination? And so we started down this path with the forum in 2016, and it took us 6 years to build enough trust for them to plop their center here. But the idea is, let's get the bigs together, which is what this center is about. It really is for the biggest of the bigs only. But at the same time, let's build the smalls so that the bigs can meet the smalls, and we can build this ecosystem second to none, really create some competitive advantage. And with China's troubles, the wind is really starting to shift. It's starting to come around, and it might be actually at our back. Can you guys believe it? Might actually be at our back for a change. I have been facing the wind like you guys for my entire career, from 1988 when I came out as a little green engineer till today. It's been the story of how the U.S. is losing manufacturing.
Sure, yeah.
And for the first time in my career, I can look and say, this might be interesting. I think the U.S. might regain their manufacturing chops over the next generation.
Well, and I'm about 10 years older than you. So with me, originally, it was we were going to lose to the Japanese, and then it became we're going to lose to China. So
well, we lost to everybody.
We were always going to lose to somebody, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, who didn't we lose to? Then Mexico. Don't forget about Mexico. We lost to Mexico.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. Giant sucking sound. I remember that.
Yeah, that's right. But really, when you take and you guys know, for the last 5 years I've been touting this industry 4.0 concept, the digitization of everything. when you start to digitize everything, you can, large capital is no longer required to produce things because it's all done digitally. And then you can produce where you consume. And God bless us, we are the #1 consumers in the world of everything and anything. Basically, we open our mouths and stuff goes in. And so if you can produce here, that really starts to change the equation really well. So that's what I'm so excited about.
And I think we also learned during the pandemic how vulnerable long, complicated supply chains can be, right? So
that's right. Resiliency and agility is the new lean, right? It used to be, I can't lean fast enough or hard enough. I can't become too dependent on one supplier because they're cheap. And now what we're finding is that, you know why that worked? Because the Soviet Union collapsed and there was no alternative form of anything. And all of a sudden, it's amazing how this works, guys. All of a sudden you see Russia leering its ugly head and China's coming back and asserting their authority. And all of a sudden the world became a really risky place and energy got all out of balance. And everybody went, oh crap, I can't rely on a lean single source production supply chain to China. I need to do something else. And so that's what I say, the wind is at our back. The whole world is changing again on us. And our manufacturers need to be aware of what's happening because most of them have only lived in a world where the sound of sucking goes that way, right? As Matt said. And I think it's really coming back. And it's a time to be optimistic and hopeful.
Yeah.
So Automation Alley now is essentially moved from being 10 counties in Southeast Michigan to the state of Michigan to the world, you know? So would that be a fair assessment?
It is, yeah, but we're trying to stay true to each of those areas. So in other words, we went statewide because we became Michigan's Industry 4.0 Knowledge Center. And we thought, we can't stop that knowledge at the county level. That's not very fair. All of Michigan needs to benefit from that. And we're funded by the MEDC. So the MEDC decided you need to be statewide. You need to be the digital librarian for all manufacturers in Michigan. And that's quite frankly why we stop at Michigan for the smalls, because that's the relationship that we have. We want to create competitive advantage. And then on the flip side, we partnered with the forum so that we could have a conversation and be invited to the table with the very largest. So Mike, we're trying to walk this balance of being at the table with the bigs, but always supporting the needs of the smalls, because it's in the smalls that wealth is created at the community level. Its wealth is not really created by the big global players. No. They allocate capital and they will allocate one day and take away the next based on their shareholder directives, right? And so, but the communities remain always.
Well, I might add, Tom's aware of this because we've been in talks about it, but I'm developing a software as a service company for 4.0 manufacturers to capture innovation and process rapidly. And so we're, just so you know, we're in the customer validation stage, and then come first quarter, we'll be pushing for the dough, and then hope to get something going by the second quarter. And Tom's going to be kind enough to let us do a survey with those Automation Alley members once we get done with the customer validation to make sure we're on topic before we spend $300,000, right? You know, so I'm looking forward to that. And I got to tell you, I should be keeping a journal because, as you know, I've always been kind of a one-man band, small entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But this whole process has been like eye-opening. I've just realized how complicated it is and how difficult it is. And anybody that can push through all this I tip my hat to them because it's tough. So, but anyway, I'm one of those small folks that hopefully will be working with Automation Alley soon.
Yeah, and we wish more worked with us, Mike. You know, when I started, we had about 700 small manufacturers that were members. Today, we have about, I want to say 1,300. Wow. So you'd look at that and say, you've been wildly successful. Look at all the smalls. You know, we're up to about 1,600 total members. About 1,300 of those are small manufacturers. There are, last count, 12,000 manufacturers in Michigan. So it gives you the idea of how many manufacturers are just not paying attention, because membership as a small to Automation Alley is free. Or just come on in, we'll give you the knowledge. Just take all you can possibly drink, right? It's free bar at Automation Alley. it's frustrating to me that we cannot get the attention of the smalls to really pay attention to what's happening.
Yeah, we discovered that in our research so far. Really, when you say Industry 4.0, which of course is AI and 3D printing and gosh, there's a whole bunch of stuff. The penetration is not very high right now, and overall in manufacturing, maybe a third of manufacturers are doing it. And especially for the little ones, what we've discovered is the IT department at a small manufacturer is like Joe Blow, and he's trying to keep the network up, and he doesn't have any time for anything else. So that's why we hope that what we're in development on was going to help with that process. So,
or it's the owner's nephew or something, right?
Yeah, or something.
Right. And Matt, they're really intimidated. They won't share with you that, Tom, I really don't know what I'm doing. I read something, I flip some switches in the IT and it's up and I keep it. There's a lot of that where it's like they were not ever trained or prepared for this kind of revolution that is occurring. And we need to say, you know what, it's okay. You and everybody else, come on in here. You're not stupid. You're excellent at what you do, and nobody knows what they're doing today because the world is changing so fast. In fact, I hear that just as much from the tier ones and the OEs as I do from the smalls. They will also tell me, Tom, don't kid yourself. We don't know what we're doing either. Yeah. We just have money to fix it. We just move as fast as we can, and we use money to fix anything we break.
Well, I was at the so-called auto show a month or so ago. I won't call it what it's. I think it was more of a circus than an auto show. But I mean, in the old days, you actually were debuting products and things like that. And this one kind of went back to its roots when the DADA was just trying to move vehicles, right? So we went from being international to back to Detroit. But I did run into a few old friends of mine, and when I was talking to them about Industry 4.0, they're even the tier one I was talking to. Well, we're kind of doing that, but it's complicated. So I totally agree. I mean, what you're saying is bearing up on our research.
It's true. You're exactly right, and we need to get rid of that stigma that it's I'm embarrassed that I don't know. Right. What you have to say is no, nobody knows. Be the champion, the hero that actually dives in with us and creates that competitive advantage for you and your employees that you may someday sell the business to, right? Because everybody needs to have an exit too. And by the way, it's the employees are ready. Because they're living. If you're on the line, you're actually living with the technology, even at a small. And so they're ready to adopt this kind of stuff. It's the middle management and the owners that are saying, well, I'm not really ready to spend any money. And quite frankly, you don't have to spend a lot of money. It's really cheap.
That is the thing that we're also running into is if it's not a profit center, they're not interested in spending the dough. But what we say to them is, look, it's going to make you a heck of a lot more efficient. You will save money rather than spend money. So they have to reverse that thinking.
It's true. Yeah, you are spot on.
Yeah, it's almost like it's the old conundrum of looking at the IT department or at anything technical as being a cost center instead of, a potential profit center. So,
well, I'll leave your audience with this. We say if you are not a software first business that happens to be in manufacturing, you will be out of business, plain and simple.
Yep.
And that's a very scary transition because most of them say, look, I inherited this business from my folks. And I know manufacturing and I don't know tech or software. And we say, well, you got to learn. And you can learn. You can do this. It's not that hard. You learned your iPhone or your Android phone, and that's all chock-a-block full of technology. And because it was so damn useful, you overcame your fear and learned how to use it. And the same can be true for your manufacturing plant.
And that's exactly how our product works is you use your smartphone, which you already know how to use, right?
Yeah,
right. Because my business partner is just coming on that. I have multiple business partners. Mele Ostale, he's going to be our next guest talking about e-commerce, but he's also my chief marketing officer for our other company. So, all right, cool. And now, if people want to join Automation Alley and get plugged into all the stuff you're doing, how do they do that, Tom?
Yeah, and remember, free. It's free, people. If you are a manufacturer and you're small, I mean like 30 million or less, you can make a whole lot of money. We don't care. We want you in under the tent. Go to automationalley.com. It'll be right there. How to join. automationalley.com. So no objections, right? Just come on in, join, be a part of the community and the solution.